This is Dave with Taboo Customs. This video is going to cover a look at our new double shear side mount tire carrier spindle that you can use for building bumpers with tire carriers or other options where you're going to need to mount a strong pivot on the side of some sort of equipment. Alright, so next we'll go through the kit for this assembly. So with this kit you're going to get a hub, and this is a 2.5 inch round hub with a 3/8 wall, so it's thick enough to pretty much weld anything you'd like to this. It's about 4 inches tall, and it does include a hole for the installation of a grease zerk so you can make sure that you keep your bearings maintained well. You're going to get 2 tapered roller bearings that are 2,000 pound trailer spindle bearings. You'll get 2 small spindles, one that goes in the top and one that goes in the bottom, hence the reason why it's called double shear. You'll get the 2 seals, one for the top, one for the bottom. And you're going to get a set of shims to be able to set the preload once you have the assembly completely built up. You're then going to get 4 different plates that build up the body of the assembly, and the plates are fairly thick. There's going to be 3 3/8 plates and then 1 1/4 inch plate for the back. Then you're going to get some hardware to put it together, and you'll have some instructions with it as well. So assembly of this kit is pretty simple. The first thing you're going to want to do is make sure that you've got this back plate here on a very flat surface. This is the bottom plate. This is actually the top plate of the main assembly. Whenever you install these, you're going to want to make sure that this stays perpendicular to this back plate, because this is what is actually going to have the spindle mounted in it. Put this perpendicular to the back plate and go ahead and tack it. Then this piece can be installed at the top. So when you install this, make sure you install this round surface on the same side as this round surface of the other assembly. If you install it like this, it's not going to work. That's actually to clear our hub, so whenever you mount it you have some space there for it to spin. Same thing with this plate. Make sure it's perpendicular to this back plate. That is going to be the key in this assembly, is just make sure you maintain that perpendicularity between those 3 items. Alright, the assembly of the kit is really pretty simple. The first thing you're going to want to determine though is which direction you want the hub to go. So this is the back piece and this is the bottom piece. So for this, if you want the hub to be on this side, you'll need this bottom piece to be flipped this way. If you want it to be on that side, you'll obviously need it to be flipped that way. Now this is important because the next step we'll have to do is installing our bottom spindle. So for installing the bottom spindle, what you're going to want to do is have the bottom of the spindle protruding about 1/8 inch. So if you can find something that's 1/8 inch thick, use that to space it up off of the table 1/8 inch, and then you can weld this bottom spindle to the plate. Now make sure that this spindle stays perpendicular to the plate, and one of the ways you can do that is if you do have a flat table, you can have it on the edge and clamp this spindle down to the table to make sure that it doesn't move whenever you're welding it. And then when you weld it, allow it to cool there. When you do weld it, make sure you keep an eye on this area. This is the area that the seal is in. This is the area that the bearing is in. If you get any spatter or pitting in there, you're going to need to clean it up and make sure you don't tear up the bearing or the seal, mainly the seal area. Once you have that bottom assembly made up, you can start to assemble the rest of the kit. So with this kit, you'd have something that looks like this. And then you can go ahead and weld this to this back plate. Now make sure that you are perpendicular, the bottom plate to the back plate, because you want to make sure that this is parallel as much as possible, the top spindle and the bottom spindle. Once you get that weld in place, you can mount your top plate, and this is the top plate. Now it's very important that you put the top plate with this curved section towards the hub, because that's the clearance for that hub to be able to spin inside the assembly. Now for the next assembly, the next spindle, you're going to want to wait until you put this together. So what you're going to do is you're going to have all of this here either tacked or welded together. Then you're going to want to take and put your bearing on, and obviously you'd have this together, but I'm doing this right now for the video to show you the assembly. So you'll want to put your bearing in there, put the hub in there, and then you can put your plate on. So obviously you'll have the hole there, you'll have your bearing inside. So once you have that assembled, you can take and you can insert this bearing down, or excuse me, insert this spindle down into the bearing. Once you do that, I would recommend taking a large clamp and clamping this assembly together before you weld this spindle to the top. Once you have it clamped together and everything is square, go ahead and weld this spindle and then let it cool before you take it apart. So for the next steps, I'm going to use an older version that we have laying around that's already tacked up, so you can see what we're going to do to set the shims that will be needed. So once you have all of this welded up and you have it assembled onto whatever item that you are building, what you're going to want to do is, before you install any seals, you're going to want to set your shim pack thickness. So to do that, you're going to install your hub, and I would start probably with one shim. You'll need to put your bearing in, put your shim, it's easiest to put it on the spindle. Go ahead and insert the spindle, and then you can clamp the top plate on there. So now you'll have whatever tire carrier, whatever item you have hanging off of this. And what you want to check is you want to see if there's any play between the hub and spindle. So you can see there that when we assembled this, we welded it and it ended up a little bit wider than what it should have. So we're going to have to take that up with these shims. Now, like I said, this is an older kit. We've refined the kit since then, and it should be a little bit closer than this, but you'll still want to use these to make sure that you don't have any play at all. If you have any play, you're going to want to increase the shim pack thickness. Now, once you do determine how thick the shims you are needing, you can, if you're needing to, split the shim packs between the top and the bottom, or you can put them all on one side if they'll fit fine. Then, once you have that set, you'll put your shim inside and install your bearing seal on the top. Make sure when you do this, you do remember to grease the bearings, and also put a little grease on the inside of the seal before you put the whole thing together. Once you have that set, you can then assemble the whole thing and it should be complete. Thanks for watching. If you're looking at purchasing one of these kits, they're available on taboocustoms.com. If you have any questions or comments, you can also go there and email us from our website, taboocustoms.com, or visit us on Facebook. Thanks.